really wants to make more money and work half as hard as you work right now? There's a lot of people that work hard and make a lot of money, but they're also miserable in their relationships and in their health, yeah? So who wants to have it all? Raise your hands. Okay, I'll tell you how to have it all. You have it all by...
Danny, if you don't know, is a life coach and spiritual leader guiding millions throughout the world to awaken, heal, and transform their life.
Business strategist turned life coach, Danny Morel. The crowd goes wild for you.
I find in most of the people that I work with is because we've been so busy living up here that we've forgotten to live here, right? That's how powerful every single one of you are. You are the creator of your life, and sometimes to create that life, you're gonna have to deal with some things that are unseen.
What would you say are the biggest energy blocks or the biggest wounds that are preventing people from feeling more abundant and free?
Oh boy. Okay, you guys ready? Because don't get mad at me, I'm just gonna...
Uh-oh. So I wanted to start this with the context of, we did this very powerful interview, and after the interview is done, I get multiple text messages. I won't say exactly what happened, but I get multiple text messages from Danny saying, hey, I think there might be some things we need to like cut out there, or maybe I said some stuff I shouldn't have said, or do you think we can do that? And I'm just curious, what came up for you from that interview, from where you were when we did it to where you are now, that could be of service and value to this community watching live, but also who are watching the recording?
Yeah, this is beautiful. So I want to start off by asking, how many of you have a dream or a vision for your life? You know, something that you want to accomplish different in your life, right? I think that's all of us. And I think that what we don't understand is that by having the dream or the vision, it's actually a sign that I believe it's impossible to not have it. The very mere fact that you have the vision means it's going to become a reality. The thing is that one of the things that has to happen in order for you to make it a reality is you have to let go of all of the blockages around your mind and your heart, and that are truly stuck in your body, in your cells energetically, that are stopping you from fulfilling it. And the way that we do that is by looking back in our lives, right? And taking a look at what happened from childhood to today that might be keeping me stuck. Well, for me, it was the energy of judgment. Anybody judge themselves or judge other people? Yeah? And I'm at, yeah.
Always.
Well, let's talk about this. You see, I didn't realize how deep this was. I left your show feeling incredible, and then I immediately went into like self-deprivation. I was like, I said this, they're gonna get mad at me for this, they're not gonna like me for this, it's not gonna go good because of this. And I started judging myself, right? And what I started realizing, this just happened this week, so it's really cool that like this is the bookend to this chapter. I realized that when the judgment began when I was 13 years old, my parents divorced. And when my parents divorced, I came with my mom and my two brothers to California. From New York City. And I didn't realize that ever since then, I was made to be the man of the house, which meant that I had to deal with all of like my mom's pressures, which meant that I had to like protect and provide in many ways for the family because my dad wasn't around. And what was underneath all of it, I didn't realize that I judged myself for my parents splitting up.
You judge yourself.
I did, unconsciously. And we all do this. And this energy gets trapped inside of us. And what we don't realize is happening is our life that we want, whether it's the relationship that we want, the love that we want, the money that we want, it's being blocked by these energies that are inside of us that we don't even realize. And here's the beautiful part, guys, is that as long as you can, you know, on a daily, monthly, weekly basis, just remember and think about your vision and speak it out into the world and speak it to God, then be careful what you wish for, because you will attract the right person, the right moment, the right job, the right client, the right podcast to bring up what you can't see so that you deal with it and heal it and remove it. And I have to say, that's how powerful every single one of you are. You are the creator of your life. And sometimes to create that life, you're gonna have to deal with some things that are unseen.
But Danny, you're a type of guy that's got millions of followers. You do these massive events with, thousands of people that are paying thousands of dollars to get coached by you and taken on a journey on how to overcome their challenges. But you're not perfect?
Well, no, and that leads me to the second word, which is comparison. And guys, we can all live our lives from one of two energies. It's either fear or love. And the energy that is the bridge from one to the other is the energy of courage. And the reason why I bring courage is because courage comes from love and comparison comes from darkness. You see, we tend to compare ourselves to everybody and everything. We compare ourselves to our past. We compare ourselves to our future. We compare ourselves to people that we know. We compare ourselves to perfect strangers that are just walking down the street based off of how they look or how they act or what they're wearing or what they have, right? And so I'm glad you brought that up, guys, Louis, because if I could leave you with anything and give you a gift of anything, it's that allow yourself to let go of the energy of comparison. And just because someone has followers or a business or is a speaker or whatever, please understand that we are all one. We are all the same, right? And that's why I'm so thankful for you to share, who would have thought like Lewis Howes was sexually abused, or who would have thought that Lewis Howes, his brother was in jail, right? And how many of you, when he shares that, could you go, oh my God, I went through something like that, or at least I feel connected, right? If you can stop comparing yourself to anybody, then you can step into the frequency of love. And that's when everything opens up for you, because that's when you truly connect with God, connect with life, and connect with everything that you want, really.
When you feel like you've been on your healing journey, and it's probably different stages of healing and unlocking new levels.
Yeah.
What is the thing that reminds you haven't healed fully yet?
I think it's my wife, honestly.
What do you mean by that?
The ultimate destination for our soul's purpose here on earth is to return to love. And in order to return to love, you have to let go of anything that isn't love. And when you let go of anything that isn't love, you realize that all there actually is love. Sit with that for a second. Because what that means is that everything that we are afraid of, everything that we judge, everything that we criticize, everything that we compare ourselves to, the ways in which we respond, the ways in which we block things from coming into our lives, is we have made it up. And we made it up in our first 7 years of our lives by looking up to our mother and father. And if you think about it, you weren't exposed to religion, you weren't exposed to beliefs, you were just surviving. So like the guy you saw was your dad. That's the masculine representation of God to you as a baby. And the woman you saw was the feminine representation of God to you as a baby, because this is all you knew. You were on your back, you couldn't move, you couldn't crawl, you couldn't talk or walk. And
that's also if you had a mom or a dad.
Well, and then we'll go there next.
If you didn't have one, the missing one.
Yeah, and if you didn't, like my mom's mom died when she was 13 days old. So my mom never received that maternal love. Therefore, she didn't know how to pass it on to me. And then my dad's dad disowned him. My dad was a product of an affair, basically. So my dad's dad disowned him and basically said, that's not my kid. So my dad grew up without a father, right? And so if you really think about it, this is the beauty of healing, is that you're the one that gets to heal this energy that has been trapped in your ancestral line for generations. And I think that's a blessing. I think we're lucky to be in this timeline, in the collective consciousness, where humanity is starting to awaken and want to heal, because the work that we're doing is literally going to impact the world. Remember, you are the creator of your life, so you're going to create everything that you need to experience exactly what you need to experience to become exactly who it is that you want to become. That's the way it works, right? So being that I didn't receive that love from my mom because she didn't know how to give it to me, I attracted a woman, my wife, who loves me so much, it makes me uncomfortable sometimes. Wow. Seriously. right? And so when you have a mother wound or a feminine wound, you have a wound with love. And so my wife is like wonderful. Like she's my dream woman, right? And she loves me. Sometimes she walks up to
too
me
much. You
and I'm
almost
like, and she's kissing me and she's like hugging me and caressing me. And I'm like, why are you doing this to me? You know, it's love.
You know, it's interesting because I wouldn't say I have that same, allergic reaction to love. But like Martha, my wife, is so weird to say wife when you've never been married before. It's like wife. It's just like, you gotta let it roll off the tongue more, it sounds good. All right, ding it up.
That's a sign.
That's a sign. Ding. That should have been like a cha-ching. That'd have been great. Money sign. It's interesting because love and intimacy and connection is the thing I've always craved. But sometimes when I have too much of it, I just want to be alone.
Yeah.
And she's not like constantly all over me or whatever. I mean, she kind of is, but it's not like I'm not allergic to it. But there's also moments where I'm like, God, she's kissing me and just loving on me. This is amazing. But I kind of just want to like be alone for a moment.
Yeah. Can anybody, men, can you relate to this? Any men? So I'll explain to you why.
She's relating to it also.
Or
she's
women want to be alone. Yeah. So I'll explain to you why this happens because, we are all, as human beings, we are all masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
Right? And some of us have, call it, wounded or undeveloped masculine and wounded and undeveloped feminine and vice versa, right? But if you came from, which all of us are here on planet Earth because of a man and a woman, then we have masculine and feminine energy, right? Well, here's the kicker. The feminine wants connection and the masculine wants freedom. And this is like the trickery of how God made us, right? It's like so crazy. It's like it made the feminine parts of us like want the love, and the masculine part of us want to kick back and just be alone and watch some TV by ourselves, right? Can you guys understand this? Yeah. Now, when you're a woman, here's what happens. The woman by nature naturally wants to connect more. And the man in his nature wants to like chill out.
And it's almost like if the man, or let me speak for myself, if you try to like pull away a little bit more, she wants to come, she wants to bring you in more. So if you just connect for a moment in like a few minutes and you just embrace it and love on it, then she's like, okay, let me go walk around the house and do what I want to do now.
Yeah.
If you stop resisting the love and the attention and the affection, it's there for a few moments, and you can get back to watching sports.
Absolutely. And how many of you guys like remember your like toxic dating days, or how many of you guys are in it, the toxic dating days right now, right? Well, when someone's hard to get, right, you want them a little bit more. That's normally a sign. That's normally a sign that there's some unhealthy or unresolved emotions in your feminine, because if you think about it, like, why would you want someone that doesn't want you back?
So interesting.
Yeah? It's kind of wild.
So the whole lesson about your wife.
She's wonderful. I'm up, and I got to work on some
gotcha.
things. Yeah, that's the lesson.
But she's brought this up for you.
Yeah,
she's brought this up for you.
100%. Yeah, but I've brought up some things for her as well. Yeah.
Okay. Then what would you say are the biggest energy blocks or the biggest wounds that you see from your events or your coaching or the things that you're doing online that are preventing people from feeling more abundant and free?
Oh boy.
If you can name them, what are those blocks or wounds that you see most common that are blocking people's abundance?
Okay, you guys ready? Because don't get mad at me. I'm just gonna.
He's worried about judgment already. Notice.
So we live in a very masculine world, and
obviously, obviously.
But I'm talking energetically masculine. And I say that because we believe that achievement and accomplishment, power, even in an unhealthy fashion, money and followers and what we look like and what we do, that all of this stuff is going to bring us love. That was me, Louis, for most of my years, most of my life, until one day my mom passed away. And I say my mom passed away because for many of us, that's what starts us on the healing journey. It's either death, sickness, or like the loss of all of our money. When God literally like brings us to our knees to say, like, listen, time out. Like the way you're living life, it just isn't working. And the reason that I find in most of the people that I work with is because we've been so busy living up here that we've forgotten to live here, right? Women are afraid. In our events, I'll ask.
But for good reason sometimes too,
Well,
right?
that's what for very good reasons. And, most people don't know this, but like there's been a war between men and women for like hundreds of thousands of years. The reason being is this once used to be a very feminine world. Women are the masters of the spiritual world, and men are the masters of the physical. And there was once a point in time in humanity where women were the leaders. Women were the ones that we men went to for guidance and advice, and the smart men still do this, right? This is where they say behind every good man is a good woman. And if there's wounding, you say, why do you have to be behind? Why can't it be? You know what I mean? It's the same, okay?
Next to every good man.
Yes, it's the same. Okay? So then what happens, Louis, is that I realize that most of us have been bamboozled and tricked into thinking that this is where life is at. And we have to help human beings to start the process of returning here, to returning to our feelings, to returning to our heart, to returning to our emotions. And I'm going to tell you why. Number one, you can't ever be whole until you have whole masculine, whole feminine. When you realize that you are not two, you are actually zero. And when you get to zero, that's when you can connect to God. Because God, okay, don't get mad at me. God can't be a man. It can't be a man. Because if it's a man, I just want you to think about this for a second. What does that say to the other part of us? We have been lied to and told that God is a man because the man is the mind is the masculine. That's a program we are all running here in the 3D world that keeps us away from opening our hearts. When we open our hearts, we return to receiving. And this is the kicker. Who wants to make more money? Raise your hands. But who's serious? Who really wants to make more money? Okay? And who really wants to make more money and work half as hard as you work right now? Because how many of you guys know there's a lot of people that work hard and make a lot of money, but they're also miserable in their relationships and in their health, yeah? So who wants to have it all? Raise your hands. Okay, I'll tell you how to have it all. You have it all by both envisioning and working, but also allowing and receiving. Allowing and receiving is the feminine. And when you are disconnected from your feminine, you are so busy, go, 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 go. I'll sleep when I die, and I've got to stay on, and I got to wake up at 4:30 in the morning, and you're all messed up, and you have zero time to connect with those that you love is because you're up here. What about receiving? What about, being so powerful that you could connect to your heart and you can connect to your soul power, the magnetism that you have to attract and receive and call into your life's experience, whatever it is that you want. That's the power of your feminine.
What is the biggest reason why women today are disconnected from their feminine?
Because it's not safe. Because it's not safe. Yeah.
It's not safe for those women to feel like they can step into it.
No. It's not safe for any of us to step into our feminine. Look, men have been taught and told for years that if we connect to our emotions and our feelings, that we're made weak.
Yeah.
That we're weak or that we're or whatever, right? That's an issue, guys. Listen to me very carefully. You will never live an abundant life if that's your reality. You will never reach the maximum of your capacity in your finances, the maximum of your capacity in your relationship, the maximum of your capacity as a father. How are you going to connect to your children if you're not connected to your own child, your own inner child?
Yeah,
it's impossible.
It's true.
Yeah? And so if you think about it, if our men are disconnected from our hearts, then how could we ever love and honor a woman? Because the woman is the feminine. So then the woman is the feminine and she's her heart, right? But yet she doesn't feel safe and she doesn't feel seen by men. So then what does she do? The woman goes into the masculine. So everyone's up here in their head. Now that you understand what I'm trying to tell you, the thing that we as human beings are starting to finally do is start to realize that we can't live here forever. And we can't be afraid to go back and heal those things that have happened in the past. Louis, on the final day of my event, it's a 3-day event, right? On the final day of the event, my life changed forever. This was about a year ago. A woman got up and she said, I want to say thank you because I've never shared with anyone that I was sexually molested when I was a little girl. Pause for a second. When you deal with, and I know in a room like this, at least 50% of the audience has had an experience like that, right? When you deal with a wound like this, your life force is blocked. Your lower energetic chakras are blocked. Literally, your sexual energy is blocked because you don't feel safe in the energy of sex, which is the energy of creation, which is the energy of creating what you want your life to be like. That's why your money is blocked. That's why your relationships are blocked. That's why, because energetically you're blocked. So the whole key to everything is heal. Heal the energy that's within you. Heal whatever resentment or anger or I wish that it was different or how come I couldn't have had a different mother or a different father, because I'm going to tell you this right now, your mother and father gave you the greatest gift that you will ever receive, and that's the gift of your life. And they were perfect.
Yeah.
And you picked them. You picked them. Please listen to me. And I don't know how else to say it, because the ego and dark energy wants you to constantly be resenting your mother and father. Because that's how all of this darkness continues. If you resent the very people that gave you the gift of life, so what you're saying is you actually resent life. If you resent life, you cannot create the life that you want.
So, you're talking about the darkness inside of us. I feel like for most of my life, I had a lot of darkness, but I also had this joy and curiosity and love as well inside of me. So it was kind of like the darkness came out when I felt abused or taken advantage of or triggered by a wound. But my nature was joy, love, curiosity, fun, play. That's just who I was being. But that darkness would kind of pull me back when I felt triggered. Here's a question for you. What is the dark side of healing your darkness?
It's very important that we understand the trickery of it all. Let's take it back to the beginning. When you were in your mother's womb, were you in the light or were you in the dark?
Depends.
You were in the dark.
It could have felt like light, but it depends on your perspective, I guess.
You can't even
you
open
can't
your
see
eyes.
the sun. Yeah.
You got fluid and everywhere, so it's like, it's pretty dark. You're better off keeping your eyes closed, right? Now, I bring this up, why? All of life, think about this. Think about a battery. Think about masculine, feminine. Think about day, night. Think about the moon, the sun. Think about the morning and the evening. Think about life, death, birth, right? Everything is positive, negative. All of life. It cannot exist if there's not a polar opposite. You guys understand this? This is called duality, right? So think about this. Your life cannot exist unless there's both dark and light. Let's talk about this. When you're in your mother's womb, you are in darkness, you are in the feminine. When you come out of your mother's womb, you enter what? The light. Didn't we say that this was a very masculine world, right? Okay, now pay attention. This is important. Because the trickery of it all. Now let's talk about dark energy. Dark energy has caused us all to call the feminine dark. Why? So we stay away from the feminine. Do you understand this? So when we talk about darkness, we have to understand that to go into the light and to return to love, you have to go through the darkness. You have to be willing to go through it. You understand this, guys? And that takes courage. Do you remember at the beginning I said, you can live from fear or you can live from love. And what is the bridge? Courage. Courage means you go through the very thing that you're afraid of. And by the way, how does this connect to money? Because money is simply energy. It is simply a reflection of the energy that's going on inside. The more you live, the more you expand, the more that you are, the more that you receive. The more that you're blocked, the more that you're afraid, the more that you're confused, the more that you're judgmental, the more that you're hard on yourself, the more that you're blocked, right? Today I was talking to my son, and he's a soccer player. And, you know, I was noticing that he was kicking. And he was like, and I said, Papi, let's take a little minute and let's just breathe and relax. And I said, feel the wind. And I said, what do you feel? He says, peace. And I said, that peace, no one can take that from you. Yeah. A defender can't take that from you unless you allow it. So when you kick, breathe and flow. And sure enough, it was like easy, right? It's like, think about it. Who plays golf? Anybody play golf? You know, if you're going to play golf and you're like it's like you're going to hit the ground, right? But if you're in flow, then the ball just moves, right? So in order to heal, Louis, this is what most people don't realize. You have to be willing to go into the darkest of the dark. And for me, that was my journey with ayahuasca. Is it brought me face to face with all the control, all the criticism, all the judgment, all the religious beliefs, all the everything. It made me face everything to the point where I thought I was gonna die. And then it made me face death, and it made me face it again and again and again and again and again till I released the fear of death. Wow. And when you release that fear, you release all fear. And when you release all fear, you're back to oneness with God. And if you're one with God, the Creator, then you're one with everything that you want to create in this life. And it is impossible for you to not create it.
And if someone is unwilling to do, there's lots of different healing modalities out there, but let's just say someone's not willing to look back at their past and go through the pain and the mess and the chaos and start the healing journey. Let's just say, you know what? That's too hard for me to face the trauma, the sexual abuse, my parents leaving me, whatever it might have been, the breakups, the lying, the manipulation, the narcissism, all these things that I had to deal with. I'm not going to look back at that. I'm just going to think positive. I'm going to bypass it all and just be positive and affirm and step into positivity all day long. What's going to happen if someone does that? If they're just like, choose to be happy, think positive thoughts, visualize a perfect life, but not face the pain.
Illness and disease.
Illness and disease.
Yeah. Breakups and heartache, bankruptcy and poverty, which are all, by the way, the opposite of what you actually are. You are one with the Creator. And the only reason we get sick, the only reason we die young, the only reason we're financially poor, the only reason that we experience anything that isn't love and abundance, which is what we actually are, is because we're afraid. And so can a human being do that? Yeah, I'm going to tell you that, when I started my healing journey at, what am I now, 47? Something like that? I don't know. But I guess when I was 40, I had never in my life met a human being that was willing to go back into the past. And as a result, I can tell you this right now, I had yet at that point in my life to meet any human being that I could point out and go, I want a life like that.
Really?
My grandparents. My grandparents, not willing to do any of that. Not willing to even talk about their disagreements. They just sweep it under the rug, everybody. Right?
Did you not meet anyone who had like a beautiful, rich life?
Nobody. No, not.
They might have had a big business, or they had something else, but they didn't have
Louis, you got to understand something. The reason why most human beings look up to people with big businesses and they are mad at them is because most people that have big businesses and are successful in this 3D masculine world are doing it from the wrong energy. They're doing it from a wound. So I'll give you me, for example. I built my business 100% prior to healing. I had a massive real estate business, 400 agents. We did $1 billion in annual sales, 40 million in revenue. I had a big, massive house. I had the car. I had the Gucci sunglasses, and I was just missing the gold teeth. That's all I was missing, right?
Shame.
All of it. And I thought I was the man, And when I finally understood what was the energy I was building all of that from, It was because I never received love as a little boy from my mom and dad. They didn't know how to give me love. For my mom to tell me love, or for my mom to hug me, it was like awkward. Anybody relate? Yeah, there's some of us, yeah? It was like weird. It was like this.
For her to tell you I love you or to
Yeah,
hug you?
for us, it just, I knew my mom loved me, but she didn't feel love within her. So how could she give me what she didn't receive? Make sense? And so there's frequencies of energies in which we can live from. On the lowest energy, it's guilt and shame. And this is why it's so important for us to release any toxicity or trauma that we faced in the past. And I'll tell you guys, with all the love in my heart, I know it's scary, but it's the greatest gift that you can give yourself, because once you start moving up in the ladder of consciousness, this is Dr. David Hawkins' work, by the way, we leave a life of force, right? A lot of the influencers you see out there, they're like, you gotta go get it, you gotta grind, and you can sleep when you're dead, and all this. They're a mess. They're miserable. You could see it because they don't have peace, because their mind is always racing and going. That's not the life that you want to live. You want to create a life that is beautiful. And that means that you get to have all the money you want. You get to experience all the love that you want. And then within you, this is the most important thing, within you, there's enough peace within you that you feel comfortable with sitting still and being present and enjoying the life that you've created. And all I can tell you is that only comes from you clearing the energy that is blocking you from the very thing that you want.
Yeah.
And to do that, Louis, you gotta go into the past.
You got to. Yeah. What do you think is what has been the hardest relationship for you to heal?
Oh, my father.
You said you didn't receive love from your mother, but the father was the hardest to heal.
Yeah, it was because he decided to not be around. This is very important.
And how did that impact your life, that broken relationship?
I had a double whammy. Like, my heart was jacked up, my mind was jacked up. Like, this is why I drank so much. By the way, this is why we drink so much. This is why we consume so much pornography and steroids and Botox and fillers and all the that we didn't have like 100 years ago, is we're disconnected from our heart. You don't need any of that. You don't need any of that. You're beautiful, and this is so important. Like the way that a mother and father sees you when you're born is the same way that God sees you when you're born. And I want to let you know that if your mother and father didn't have the capacity to see you as beautiful and perfect when you were born, it's only because their mother and father didn't see them as beautiful and perfect when they were born. And once you finally understand that, guys, then you could finally start to have love for your mother and father. Because the only reason that they treated you in the ways in which you didn't want to be treated was because they were treated in those ways as well. And that's, guys, please listen to me. Your life will change forever when you understand that your mother and father are a wounded little boy and girl that created the wounded little boy and girl inside of you. And when is it gonna end?
But
it only ends when you have the courage to forgive. If anyone tells you that you can ever reach love and abundance without forgiveness, they are full of shit. That's what they're full of. And normally when they tell you, you could see it in their face. They're like, you don't have to forgive anybody. I don't have to forgive anybody. I can just let it go. They're like miserable, right? It's because their heart is locked up. Because what does the heart want to do? Forgive. Let go.
But here's the thing. For those that are here in this room or those watching online afterwards who have had really challenging relationships with their parents for decades.
Yeah.
And they they really got hurt. They were like, they got the worst of it. They got made fun of. They got laughed at. They got abused. They got no love. They got just like the rug pulled out to them over and over again by one of their parents or both of their parents. So they just, it just seems like there was no love in their parents.
Okay.
How do they really learn to say, you know what, I just forgive 40 years of suffering and sadness from my parents?
Well, you don't do that. Okay, who could, this is a moment of vulnerability for us all, okay? Who is here in the audience that says there's something that I'm holding on to, or there's something that I experienced with my mother and father that has me upset, angry, resentful, whatever. This is every one of you, raise your hands. Right? This is every single one of us, right? Okay. I'm going to tell you a story. At the worst level, at the farthest end of the spectrum, there is sexual abuse from the mother or father, right? And I have a friend who has dealt with that.
From their parents, which is, yeah.
Yeah, I wish she was here right now to share, but yeah.
It's okay, yeah. But it's from your parents
from
is the
parents.
worst.
Yes.
Yes.
This is the kind of work we deal with. But I'm going to tell you a story. I had a friend once. He hired me to be his business coach back when I was doing business coaching and I was starting to get into like the spiritual stuff, right? I was like in between. I had my intake form and I asked him, why are you hiring me? He says, because I suffer from a rare autoimmune disease. I go, okay. I'm not a doctor though, right? He goes, no, but you're a business coach and you teach people how to leverage their business so they can have freedom in their life. And I go, oh yeah, I can help you with that, but what does that have to do with the disease? He says, well, what happens to me is like 3 times a year, my esophagus, my eyes, everything swells up so bad that I have to go to the hospital because I can't breathe. They have to stick a pipe down my throat just so that I could survive. And on my way to the hospital, I have to inject myself with something to keep myself from cardiac arrest. That's a lot. Like if you ever want to be a life coach, get ready because these are the types of things that's going to come. I don't know how to deal with that, right? And I go, okay, let's get to work, right? So I start working with him, and back then what I would do, and I still do to this day, is I take people through healing processes, right? So one weekend he flies out from New York, and I pick him up from the airport. I bring him to the house. We're gonna have a beautiful ceremony there, and he pulls out this bag of prescription medications, which, by the way, none of you need. None of you. Nobody needs prescription anything, okay? Now, go talk to a doctor first, but I'm telling you, you have the power to heal yourself of absolutely anything. And this story is gonna prove it. He pulled out a bag and he had like 30 bottles. And I'm like, what's that? He goes, oh, this is my medication for my thing. And then he had a stent in his chest because Lewis, his disease was so bad, all the veins in his arms were gone. So they put like you know what a stent is? It's like a little, so that when he got to the hospital, they can just, no IV, you can just go right into, and it goes right into his veins. And I don't know what got into me, Lewis, but I said, you're not gonna need that after this weekend. That's what I said. Sure enough, we go through the process, and listen to me, guys. This is why I'm telling you, healing your mother-father wound is so important. He said, I took him through the ceremony, and this is what we do at Awaken now, right? He says, I know where the autoimmune disease came from. And he's like crying, which is releasing. This is purging. This is your body letting go of what you've been holding on to for so long. He says, my dad used to beat me every day of my life for the first 10 years of my life. He said, my dad would beat me so much that I, at one point in time, just gave up feeling pain. And he would just hit me and hit me and hit me and hit me, and I just wouldn't feel it. And whenever he wanted to hit my sister, I would have him hit me instead. Like, can you feel, like, just think about this for a second. Think about what it must be like for a little boy to feel that. What is the message that little boy or little girl is getting about life? That little boy or girl is receiving the message that life means pain. Please listen to me. And then you go unconsciously and create ways of receiving more pain in your life. And when you don't deal with it, the body eventually gives you illness and disease to help you to see. It's not that you're sick, guys. It's that there's sickness and pain inside of you. That's all it is. And when you heal that, you can heal the body. So sure enough, what happens? I start to work him through the process because I had been through the process with my dad. Not as bad, obviously. And I said, bro, you're gonna have to forgive your dad. And he goes, I know, man, but I don't want to. And he crying and crying and crying. And this was like a year-long process. At the end of the year, his dad gets cancer. But the beautiful thing is that he had went through a year of healing. So now his heart was open. His feminine was reopened. And he realized and understood, my dad beat me because his dad beat him. And he was able to see his dad for the first time ever as the little boy who was beaten just like he was beaten. Do you understand what I'm telling you guys? What I'm telling you is that pain transmutes from one generation to the next until it's healed. And why is this story so beautiful? No more pills, no more autoimmune disease, no more stint in his chest against the advice of all the doctors. But this was the best part. The best part was this, was that he was able to heal his relationship so much with his dad that when his dad was going to his chemo and when his dad was ill, guess who was there to take care of him? When none of the family would, the son that told himself that he would never forgive his dad. That is love, guys.
Wow.
That is love. And if he can heal that, listen to me, you can heal it as well. And by the way, what happened to his business? What happened to everything started to flourish? Yeah. Because when the heart is open, you're able to receive life again.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful story that it sounds like the father and the son had started to kindle their relationship in some way. Not all the time. Forgiving your parent, an ex, a friend, will they be as receptive and, it's all happier ever after now?
Well, this is important because I had a woman that I worked with that her mom was emotionally abusive. Even as an adult, the mother would come, and when I met the woman, you ever meet people that they're like, you ever meet people like that? Yes. You ever meet people like that? That's a hyperactive mind. That's a shut-off heart. This is why I say to everybody, you don't have ADHD. You don't have any of this stuff. You are acting out as the wounded little boy or little girl that has yet to heal and reopen their heart. That's it. This is why you can heal anything, absolutely anything. Why am I bringing this story up? Because the woman said, okay, I took her through the experience. She came to a bunch of awakens. She started to heal. She's like, okay, Danny, life is great now, but my mom wants to come over for Christmas and I don't want her to. And I said, and guess what you get to decide? That it's okay for her not to come over.
Right.
Because healing is not for them, it's for you. And when you heal, you start to, that same courage that you embraced to go into the healing, now starts to impact your life. So now you get to have the courage to say no. You get to have the courage to speak your truth. You get to have the courage to be your authentic and real self. And if you can do that with your mom and dad, then you can do that with customers and you can do that with the world. That's where your money starts to blow up. Can you see the connection? It is all connected. And then guess what happened? By her having the courage to set beautiful, healthy standards and boundaries with her mom, the mom started to heal. Because there was no more room for the darkness. There was no more room for the abuse and the pain. And when that happens, Lewis, we are forced to look within. And that is why when we heal, it is the most powerful thing that we can do, because the 7 closest people to us, just by osmosis, just by our energy, they start to heal as well.
You were talking about earlier that we live in a masculine world, is that right?
Yeah.
It's more of a masculine world?
Yeah.
When an individual is trying to build wealth from the masculine energy versus trying to create wealth from a feminine energy, which one is more powerful in generating financial wealth?
I think that we have to, like, if you want
not a female or male, but the feminine or the masculine energy.
Yeah. I think that we're going to get to healing when we end the war between men and women. And the only way that we can end the war between men and women is if we end the war between our own masculine and feminine and thinking that one is better than the other. Because when you think that one is better than the other, you're thinking that a part of you is better than another part of you, and then that means you can't be whole. Does that make sense? And so I want to tell you, this is the most beautiful thing I see is that at the end of Awaken, we take women through a very sacred process where they're able to heal their sexual trauma. I don't want to give away the secret. Have any of you ever been there, by the way? Is it beautiful? It's beautiful, right? Yeah. And so what happens is we actually use men to help women heal that wound. Lewis, women are bawling. It's like, rah! Like they're shaking there because the trauma is literally leaving their body. It's how powerful it is. And the thing that is happening is the men are seeing the pain that we have caused the women. And like at this last Awaken, like there was like 10 men. Can you imagine how beautiful it is for men to stand up and say, from this day forward, I commit my life to honoring and loving every woman that is alive and never hurting a woman for as long as I live, with tears in their eyes. And at the end, seeing men and women hug and like be able to feel safe with each other. Well, that is an outward expression of how safe you feel with the masculine and feminine within you. The way that you feel, ladies, listen, this is very important. The way that you feel towards men is an outward expression of the way that you feel energetically towards your own masculine, right? Because if you see men as like dogs or evil or, whatever the case may be, or worthless or useless, what you're actually saying is there's a pain inside of you that feels like your masculine was useless in protecting you. So it's just an outward expression. Wow. And then that's why you keep attracting men to validate the story that you have within you. When you heal that story and that wound, it is impossible to attract men that can hurt you because you're now safe within your own masculine and feminine energy. And as a result, you attract safe people to mirror and match the energy that is within. This is when Lewis, I know this, I'm going to stop being, because it's just the truth. Like, yeah, it is what it is. We are one with God. Mm-hmm. We are one with the Creator. We are not separate from God. We are a divine physical expression of the divine. And when we can start to understand that we literally create the world that we see out here based off of the energy that we feel in here, we get to stop living life as a victim, and we get to start understanding that everything in our lives, from our parents to anything we've experienced, our soul has called in, and we have created to teach us and help us become the versions of ourselves that our future is calling us into. Wow. And only when we hold on and resent and judge and is when we resent the past. And that is what dark energy wants. And that is how we keep darkness alive, is by keeping the resentment and the judgment and the pain within us.
Danny, final question. What are you most grateful for today?
Oh, life. I am. I really am. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I was once the biggest jerk, like, I don't like using the word, but probably narcissist, probably, prideful. I needed so much for the outside world to like validate me and accept me because of what I wore, or what I had, or what I did. And I am so grateful that I had the courage to go into all of that and heal it, so that now I get the opportunity to share this with people, and eventually they get the opportunity to share it with others. And together, I don't believe, I know. I don't believe in believing. It's either you know or you don't. I know we can heal the world together.
Yeah,
I know we can.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
We are, I'm grateful for you. Thank you for being generous with your time. And everyone, let's give it up one more time for Danny Morel. Let's give it up. Thank you, Danny. Appreciate it.
Literally, Lewis, energetically,
Yeah.
subconsciously attracting and calling in only the man that is in the feminine, because you energetically know you can control him.
Wow.
And if you can control him, Lewis, the mind.